have for you all the information that's coming in from the front lines in the Israel-Hamas war. Tanks were seen moving on the Gaza side of the border with southern Israel as the devastating month-long Israel-Hamas war rages on. In the operation against Hamas, Israeli Defense Forces have increased their strikes against the Hamas terrorists and the Hamas terror infrastructure, capturing Hamas positions by eliminating terrorists. Here's a detailed report on the latest that's coming in from there.
IDF has entered Gaza City. IDF has broken decades-long barrier and engaged in intense combat within Gaza City.
When the security forces tried to get hold of the situation of this entire Kibbutz Kfar Aza, the terrorists fired the rocket launchers at them. We are told that more than 50 rocket launchers were fired at the Israel Defense Forces, and that has completely destroyed this area where the people used to live.
Huge plumes of smoke were seen rising over the Gaza skyline as Israel unleashed another wave of strikes across the territory. The ground operations launched by IDF on October 27th are now being carried out in densely populated Gaza City as war entered day 32.
הפעולות שלנו פוגעות בליבת יכולות חמאס. חיסלנו עשרות מפקדים. חשפנו מנהרות רבות, ואנו פוגעים קשות באויב. אנו פועלים בשילוב זרועות מצוין עם כלל גופי צה"ל. מודיעין, אוויר, ים ועם שירות הביטחון הכללי.
The Israeli military released footage claiming to show its troops destroying tunnels built by Hamas. The video shows soldiers calling in an airstrike before going into the survey area.
לראשונה, בעשרות השנים האחרונות, צה"ל נלחם בלב ליבה של העיר עזה, בלב ליבת הטרור. זו מלחמה מורכבת וקשה, ולצערי, יש בה גם מחירים.
Israeli troops have been battling Palestinian militants inside Gaza for over a week and have succeeded in cutting the territory in half and encircling Gaza City. Operation Iron Sword was launched by Israel on October 7th, hours after deadly attack by terrorists of Hamas, which killed over 1,400 people inside Israel in coordinated attack from air, water and land. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said Israel will take overall security responsibility in the territory indefinitely after its war with Hamas is concluded. Agency Report, Republic TV.
For days now, Republic's team has been reporting from ground zero, even as in the background shelling has gone on from some of the most hazardous positions, with tanks deployed around them and missiles landing close in terms of meters near them. This report is from my colleague Gursimran, who's there on the ground. He is reporting from inside a kibbutz that was destroyed by Hamas terrorists that breached the fierce and entered Israel's this particular kibbutz. It's been 30 days of the Israel-Hamas war. Israeli Defense Forces are continuously targeting Hamas locations and attaining some success in their endeavor to fight back terror as well. This is a detailed report from one such kibbutz that was destroyed, dislocating the 400 inhabitants who originally lived there. Take a look.
30 days have passed since the attack of Hamas on the Israel's kibbutz took place. Right now we are reporting from the kibbutz Kfar Aza that was one of the worst hit areas. This was the defense that was breached by the terrorists of Hamas to enter this kibbutz. The number of the terrorists who breached into the kibbutz Kfar Aza was more than 70. From all four directions, the 70 terrorists of Hamas entered this place and then they unleashed the terror. More than 60 people were killed. killed, 17 were abducted by the terrorists of Hamas inside this kibbutz. The main motive of these terrorists was to kill people, as many as people they can, so that they can send a message that Hamas is alive and Hamas can do brutality to the extent they wanted. And what they first did as they entered was the RPG attack that they did on the vehicles that have been parked here. These vehicles, the destroyed, the shattered glasses, these are the testimony of what the terrorists of Hamas have done here as they entered the kibbutz Kfar Aza. The people were being brutally killed, the women were raped, the children, they were decapitated, they were killed by the terrorists of Hamas as they wanted to ensure that there is no trace of life here on the ground zero.
And Hamas terrorists Republic's team reported from the kibbutz where homes have been destroyed by Hamas terrorists, and more than 400 people used to live earlier there have relocated. Here's more on this.
It was in the couple of minutes that the terrorists have now entered the kibbutz residential areas. These areas that have been destroyed completely were once the home of many aspirations. There were mostly 400 people that were living inside this area. But this area became the victim to the terrorists of Hamas, as the terrorists not only entered this area a couple of minutes after the attack, but also set this area on the fire. The terrorists were not only carrying the high ammunitions, the heavy ammunition, artillery, but also they were carrying with them gasoline so that they can set these houses on the fire so that not a single trace of life can survive here. And this is what they have done. As we move closer to these areas, you will find that how brutally these terrorists of Hamas have killed the common civilians, and these houses, those who have been completely destroyed, speaks of the brutality, how the terrorists of Hamas, those who entered this place in the morning of 7th of October, exactly a month ago, unleashed terror. And these traces on the walls, they clearly depict that what was their plan. The plan was to kill as many as people they can, to have as many as dead bodies they can leave here of the common people of Israel, so that the death and destruction which they want to unleash can be seen by one and all. And as we move inside the kibbutz Kfar Aza, it is very evident that how these terrorists were planning and how they have executed this plan. There were some people who were sitting on the benches outside their residences, but what the terrorists did, they fired the RPG and also set these benches on the fire. So this was all in plan of these terrorists, because it was one of the minutely planned terror attack, that how they will enter, from where they will enter, and how they will unleash terror. This was all part of the plan of the terrorists of Hamas. And as we move inside some more areas, we will find that how things have been totally decimated by the terrorists of Hamas. We have with us one of the native of the kibbutz Kfar Aza. You have been the native, you have seen what happened that day. Could you please share some details about the incident, the horrific incident that took place on 7th of October?
As you can see behind us, many terrorists came here by the hundreds. They just murdered or kidnapped everyone they could. They burned houses, they destroyed everything, they mutilated corpses, they raped women and young children. They just did, the worst atrocities you can even imagine.
We have also got to know that the children's minors were also decapitated. They were beheaded by the terrorists.
I heard about it just like you. I wasn't, running around the village that day, so I didn't see anything with my own eyes. I was just in my safe room with my family the entire day.
We also heard that there was a family, the Quds family, that used to flow the kites as a part of a goodwill gesture to have good relation with the Gaza side.
Yes.
But they were also killed. They were one of the first victim of this terror attack.
Yes, they were killed. Both parents and their 3 children were murdered in their house. They had this annual kites tournament. It was supposed to be held on that day, when the massacre happened. It was for peace, for understanding between us and our neighbors. And they were all murdered.
17 people are still in the captivity of Hamas.
70 people, including children, are still being held kidnapped in Gaza. And we hope for their safe return.
So the locals hope for the safe return of those who have been still held captive by the terrorists of Hamas. But as we move inside this kibbutz, we will get to know the traces of death and destruction that has taken place. And this is what the real face of the terrorist of Hamas remains to be, that they wanted to kill as many as people as they can, and what they did was similar to the plan they have done. They came, they killed the people. They not only killed the elder ones, but also the minors were the victim of this terror attack, the deadly attack. And how these homes were set on the fire, these photos, these videos inside these houses speaks of the volumes, that how the people were killed by the terrorists of Hamas, set on fire, and when the people tried to save themselves, rush out of their houses, they were fired upon by the terrorists of Hamas to kill them so that they can instill the fear and carry out their deadly plan.
And within hours of Russia's